welcome to Ask Anyone. Today I have Michael with me, and he's going to share his story, and not only share his story, but talk about his non-profit Activate Life. So, Michael, I'm going to let you take it away.
Great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Um,
And
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, could you please explain to my fan base more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a entrepreneur by heart. I grew up the son of an entrepreneur. My dad had his own retail and wholesale business around fine china and collectibles. So if you're familiar with like Swarovski, those crystals, or like Yadro, Lalique Baccarat, all this stuff that they
Yeah,
like, the high end china that you would
yeah.
never really use in real life.
And
That's what my dad sold. So at an early age, he had me working in his stores at, 8, 9, 10 years old. And so I learned really how to sell from my father. And I always knew I wanted to open up my own business. In the interim, as I was growing up, I had several addictions that I was battling, specifically gambling, which I was introduced to at 11 years old by my uncle. And all the gambling, and I continued to gamble throughout my early childhood and into college. And in college, I started to become a bookie, where I would actually take bets from other people who were gambling. And that's when I was introduced to drugs as well. And I started experimenting with a variety of drugs. At the same time, I was always working. One thing I was always able to focus on is my work. I was like always chasing something. And for me, it was money. And money, like the way I was brought up, the way the media influenced me and the movies influenced me and successful people influenced me, was the thought that if I had money, then I would be happy. So I always chased money and tried to make as much as I could. And I was working through college, going door to door, selling home improvements. But I was really, partaking in a lot of activities that weren't really great, like the gambling and the drug use. And that kind of continued outside after I graduated college. And I started working in New York City. And there was a lot of drug use in New York City, especially on the weekends when you go out, you go into these clubs and stuff, you're in your 20s, and there's a lot of cocaine around. So I started doing it and hanging out with a lot of these people, and I was gambling and doing cocaine. I was gambling every day, and I was doing cocaine on the weekends. Meanwhile, I was still working and I was very successful at my job. So people from the outside didn't realize what was really happening on the inside. I'll
and
pause there for a moment if you want to ask a question.
and so what made you stop all this monkey business? What made you stop the heavy drugs and the gambling?
Yeah, it was really being curious about other ways to live that initially got me exploring, um, like Gamblers Anonymous. So I walked into a Gamblers Anonymous meeting after gambling for 20 years straight. Literally, I would go to sleep and wake up thinking about gambling. And you can gamble anywhere these days. You can open your computer and gamble. You can play
Yeah.
poker online. You can bet sports online. So, unlike other drugs, for instance, where you would need to get your drug dealer, get in connection with him, or if you want alcohol, you would need to go to the store to buy alcohol. Like if the store is closed, you can't get alcohol. That's not the case with gambling. You can open a computer and gamble at any time of the day from anywhere in the world. So it had come to a point where my brother actually had told me he had went to Gamblers Anonymous, and I became curious because he wouldn't converse with me anymore about different things we gambled on together because he was not gambling anymore. So I became curious as to what did this Gamblers Anonymous do to my brother. It wasn't that I wanted to stop. I was just more curious about what this organization was all about. So I went in for a meeting, and when I first went into the meeting, I looked around me and I saw all these people, and I thought they were losers, to be honest with you. They were, talking about all their stories, and they were, blue collar, hard working people. But I was very arrogant in my 20s at that point. I was working in New York City with like these pinstripe suits, like, and a nice car and all the things that really don't matter in life in the big scheme of things. But at that time in my life, they mattered. So I went in there judging everybody. But after listening to everybody for 2 hours, I realized that I had more in common with the people in that room than my closest friends in my life. And then I started working the program. And for gambling, I actually never gambled again after I walked into that meeting. And in this past June was 15 years since I made my last bet.
Wow. Wow. So did if you don't mind me asking, did it take 1 meeting, 2 meetings, 3 meetings, 4 meetings, 5 meetings, or just that 1 meeting that you thought, "Okay, you connected with people in this room. I know that gambling's a bad thing. I need a little push in the right direction." And so how many meetings did it take for you to have awakening moment, so to speak?
It was not one meeting, not two, not three, four, or five. It was one meeting minimum a week, every week. And I did that for, I would say, 5 years about.
Mhm.
And then when I moved from New York City to Salt Lake City, Utah to pursue my entrepreneurial dream, I started leading the Gamblers Anonymous meetings in Salt Lake City, Utah. So
Okay,
I became a leader within the group. So I would run the meetings and give back to others what the people before me gave back to me. Because I
okay.
would never have been successful in those meetings unless I had a sponsor who was very passionate about helping me. So I gave the same back to others. And it's like you pass it along, and that's how we all support each other as a community. So it's I don't really go to meetings now, but lots of people do, and they do for the rest of their lives. And it's a different time now with COVID, so everything's online. But yeah, I continue to support the organization from afar as much as I can.
Now, let's talk about your, nonprofit Activate Life. What is that about?
So activated.life is basically about focusing on mental health within the entrepreneur community. As a seasoned entrepreneur myself, I am part of a lot of entrepreneur organizations, and I see a lot of other entrepreneurs that I'm friends with who have, a lot of challenges, isolation, workaholics. A lot of them turn to substances to get a break from the stresses of running a business, financial challenges, employee challenges, legal challenges, accounting challenges. Being an entrepreneur, it looks like it's all glitz and glam, but it's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. It's a lot of grinding. And you have all the responsibility is on your shoulders for your employees, for payroll, for people's families. So it brings a lot of pressure with it, and that pressure can lead to a lot of mental breakdowns, a lot of challenges, a lot of burnout, and a lot of addiction as well. So A friend of mine, Parveen Panwar, came up with the whole activated focus, and I joined as his partner, and we developed activated.life, which is online if anybody's interested in checking it out. And we have various programs like breath work and meditations and yoga and things of that nature. And we do these retreats once a year. And our next one is in Costa Rica in April. And so, yeah, it means a lot to me. And it's really all about supporting each other as we go through this journey of entrepreneurship.
Now, as we wrap this interview up, I have two more questions for you. Then I'm going to let you ask me a couple questions if you have any. And what is your favorite book? And if your best friend had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
So, my favorite book, and I'm biased, is the book I wrote called Chasing the
That's
High.
okay. That's okay. Be biased. Be biased.
I mean, I have to promote my own book because nobody else
Yes.
will do it for me, right?
Yes. No one else will do it for you. Be biased. So your favorite book is
So,
one that you wrote.
yeah, I wrote a book last year called Chasing the High, an entrepreneur's mindset through addiction, lawsuits, and his journey to the edge. And, it talks about how I was able to change my life around by studying flow, um, and following my intuition. And flow is a process of living an effortless life. If it's not a hell yes in your life, it should be a heck no in anything that you do. And that really resonates with me. So there's a big chapter on that. There's a chapter on the habit of habit making. It talks about the importance of habits in your life, and it's on Amazon and Audible. So that is my favorite book because I wrote it. But I will tell you, I'm reading a book right now called Limitless by Jim Quick, and I highly recommend that as well. And that helps you retain information, so it upgrades your brain and helps you
Yeah.
remember things. Um, so those are the books that I would focus on. As far as if my friends wrote a book about me, I think they would name it what I named my book, which is Chasing the High, because
Yeah.
I've always chased that high and tried to duplicate that feeling.
And as we wrap this interview up, do you have any questions for me?
Sure. What do you think is the biggest misperception people have about you?
That people, and this goes for people with all disabilities, that people with disabilities can't hold a college degree. I'm working on my second college degree, and it's going to possibly turn in my third college degree. But yes, we can hold a college degree. And yes, we fit better into the box of solo entrepreneurship than we do the box of 9 to 5. But the biggest misconception about us as a disabled human society is that people don't think they should hire a disabled person to work for them. There's a huge misconception between let's hire a disabled worker and be a equal opportunity employer, then let's put them to work and actually use the skills and gifts that they have and can contribute to the company.
Yeah, a lot of people are wired and programmed a certain way from an early age to believe certain things, whether it's about the disabled, whether it's about race, politics, religion, whatever it is. So, yeah, I certainly resonate and understand that. And good on you. I mean, multiple degrees. That's amazing. I mean, for me,
Well,
one was enough. I was
yeah.
done after one.
Well, multiple degrees am I here? So, Michael, where can people find you if they choose to do so?
Sure. My website is www.michaelg-dash.com. And then I'm on all social media. If you're on Instagram, it's mdash1. And on Facebook, michael.dash1. And you could find my book, as I mentioned before, on Amazon and Audible, chasingthehighbook.com.
Well, here's a tip for you guys. If you go to Chasing a High on Amazon, it will automatically, at least with the Kindle version, it will automatically say, "Do you want to add Audible for 199?" And so that would help you guys too if you click those buttons. Then make Michael very happy because so basically his work could be found on Amazon.
Yes, correct, correct. And yeah, if my book, I've gotten a lot of messages from people who've been in entrepreneurship, outside of entrepreneurship, dealing with addiction, not dealing with addiction, about different ways the book impacted them, because I was a different human being before, and I completely changed my life. And you can too if you're struggling with anything out there.
Oh yes, you can. And so Michael, I appreciate your support. I also appreciate everyone else's support. And please contact Michael if you have any questions about the book or his nonprofit Activate Life. And I appreciate you guys. Bye, you guys.
Thank you so much.